Hey, close your eyes for just a second. Seriously, just listen to the room around you right now. In this explainer, we're going to take a really deep, intimate journey into your own mind, exploring a feeling that almost every single one of us has experienced, but, we rarely actually understand it.
It's 2 a.m. You're sitting completely alone in the dark. The world outside has finally, thankfully, stopped demanding your attention. Right now, it's just you, the faint glow of your screen, and a pair of headphones. Quiet roads, calm homes, still air. Think about it. During the day, there's this constant, exhausting hum, isn't there? Traffic, people talking, your phone buzzing nonstop. All of it is just competing for your attention. But right now, the absence of all that daytime hustle creates this pristine blank canvas. Without those competing sounds, your brain's auditory perception actually sharpens. You're physically capable of hearing so much more. So, you press play on a song you've heard, 100 times before? But tonight, it hits differently. A familiar melody suddenly feels painfully personal. And you just sit there asking yourself, why does this song hurt more now? Well, the answer actually begins deep within your own biology. As the sun goes down, our bodies profoundly change. Because your visual input fades in the darkness, your ears physically adjust. They start picking up these incredibly nuanced details in the harmonies and melodies, little layers of audio that were completely masked by the noise of the day. The song itself hasn't changed, but your capacity to absorb it absolutely has. And then there's the physical reality of the night itself. The cooler air and that profound, heavy silence naturally amplify the reverb of the sound. At the exact same time, your body is releasing melatonin. Your heart rate is slowing down. This altered, quieted physical state makes the rhythms of the music feel so much more intense. It literally pulls you deeper into the soundstage. So, the physical world around you has quieted down, but what happens when your mind finally drops its guard? These late hours bring this deep, almost unavoidable psychological vulnerability. The distractions of the day are just gone, leaving you totally alone with the thoughts you've been pushing away for hours. Certain sounds, especially heavy low frequencies and slow tempos, they trigger your parasympathetic nervous system. That's essentially your body's rest and digest state. It physically calms your heart. It sends a signal to your brain that there are no immediate threats around you. It finally gives you the physiological permission to let go of your tension. It makes it safe to feel. One listener, who was processing their grief alone in the dark, described it exactly like this. Sitting with my sadness was scary, but I also felt seen and heard. Music becomes this incredible vessel to process overwhelming emotions. Those feelings that are just far too heavy and far too isolating to try and carry all by yourself. We usually think we want to escape our pain, right? But in a recent study, researchers asked 50 listeners to imagine their favorite sad song with the sadness completely stripped away. 82% of them said doing that ruined the song. It completely reduced their enjoyment. Psychologists call this the sad music paradox, because in the dark, we don't just tolerate sad music, we actually crave the sadness itself. So why do we crave it? It all comes down to something called emotional congruence. Basically, you're seeking out art that perfectly matches your internal state. If you're carrying the heavy residue of a really difficult day, cheerful music just feels wrong, doesn't it? It feels almost like a lie. Melancholic music, on the other hand, looks right at you and says, yes, this is real, I hear it. It gives you a safe psychological container to find resolution, instead of just forcing you to suppress the pain. During the day, we use music totally differently. We use it as a tool to ignore our feelings. We want energy, we're looking for an escape. But nighttime listening, it's entirely introspective. You are vulnerable. You're no longer looking for an escape. You're finally seeking an emotional mirror. Which brings up a pretty haunting question, honestly. In that empty room with the music filling the quiet void, are you listening to the song, or is the song listening to you? Late night music speaks directly to this deep, lingering loneliness that we all carry inside of us. Psychologists have a term for this. They call it a social surrogate. See, listening alone isn't isolating at all. When you put on that favorite track, the music becomes a parasocial bond. It buffers against your isolation. It literally steps in as the person who truly understands you, filling up your social fuel tank when the rest of the world is fast asleep. For a lot of people, music with a melancholic quality is exactly what they need to feel held and understood at the end of the day. And when you experience that deep of a connection, your brain releases a massive rush of dopamine. It is the exact same chemical released by real human bonding. That is why a profound piece of music can literally give you physical chills in an empty room. And there's a very specific acoustic texture that cradles an overthinking mind.
It's not really about the genre, it's about specific features. Heavy bass emphasis, smooth sustained legato notes, low danceability. These atmospheric sounds are engaging enough to catch your anxious thoughts, but they're predictable enough to keep your mind from spiraling into those endless, exhausting loops.
Actually, a 15-night study found that both sad and happy music can bring you nighttime peace. The genre really doesn't matter. What matters is the emotional familiarity. What matters is the psychological comfort that the music brings to your tired nervous system. It simply has to match your soul.
So, as the final notes of your playlist slowly fade out into the absolute stillness of your room, we kind of have to ask ourselves one last thing. Is the song changing in the dark, or are you?
I want you to just sit with that thought for a moment. Listen to the silence again.
Maybe music feels different at night, because there are emotions your mind only allows you to hear in the dark.